Welcome to E360 TV, the live streaming and on-demand destination for influential voices and enlightened audiences. We offer trending, grassroots, and purpose-driven content across a diverse range of interests. E360 TV is more than just watching programs. We offer the ability to interact with live shows connecting audiences to real, authentic influencers and storytellers while streaming to millions of devices. Real experiences. Raw conversations. One destination for it all. E360 TV.
On July 4th, 1962, I found myself in the lost and found of mankind. Just because something finds its way to the lost and found doesn't mean that it wants to be there. Just because something finds its way to the lost and found doesn't mean that the person who lost it doesn't care for that lost item.
You are writing moments that people will learn from, grow from, and heal through for thousands of years. Together, we are co-authoring a unique moment in time. That DNA, those fingerprints, they're going to be gone. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. But it is your story that they will tell for thousands of years. But only if you leave it. Things that do not serve you must go. The longer you wait, the more time you give them to trick you into serving them. 22 homes in foster care, everything I wore as a scar, as a shame, things that started like Velcro on my spirit. After just a few months, then years, then decades, I had believed myself into believing that they were indelible tattoos. Sometimes we have to be broken down to appreciate the view once we start getting up. I want you to leave this place and know that you have been changed. Why? How do I know it's true? Because each of you has just changed.
Don't see
I'm so happy, y'all. I am so grateful. I'm just everything wonderful today. I'm so happy to be back. Yes, indeedy, said the needy. I am just so thrilled. Welcome to today's installment of Bathrobe Moments. I'm Dr. Lauren. I've been gone for a minute. Let me get these emulants where they need to be. I'm not kidding. Y'all, let me tell you, keep going. Keep growing and keep showing others how you got there. Let me tell you something. Count it all joy. Number one. There's the bell of purpose. Remember, there are no mistakes in this universe. That's what they do to keep this shit interesting. There's the bell of purpose. And know this. When you least expect it, something miraculous is going to happen. There's got to be a breakdown in order for there to be a breakthrough. And I had one I had multiples. I was told I was moving into the fifth dimension. I had no idea what it meant, but I'm beginning to understand it. And we're going to talk about that more and more. But today's guest, I'm going to work with him. I'm going to tell you that right now. You watch. I'm going to work with him. I had never heard of this. So many new things have been poured into my container over the last when last time y'all saw me live, I was 62 years old. Now I am 63. So 6 and 3, 9, 3, 3, 3. And I was told, the power of 3. I didn't even know it was a thing. It's upon me. And that moving from the third to the fifth dimension. I was told that's where I'm at now. I'm like, huh? Right. So let me just tell you, be encouraged. Remain inspired. And you keep going. You hear me? It'll make sense. It'll all come together. And today's guest, I've been practicing his name for weeks. Let's see. Oh, come on in. 252 of you. I'm glad. Because I thought you would have forgotten about Dr. Lauren because he's been MIA for a minute. But no, you have not. Jakob Gricar. It's close. At least I didn't say Jacob. Right. It's Jakob, I think. I'm going to let him tell you. Anyway, have you heard of somatic work, somatic mastery? I had not. But you know why? Don't feel bad. Because I used to feel, the old me used to go, what's wrong with me? Why am I so dumb? How come I don't know stuff? Well, it is a need to know when it's time to grow. And when that happens, look what we get. The prayer hands. What is that? That's because I believe when you grow, first of all, they're not called growing tickles. They're called growing pains. Count it all joy. When something hurts, go, wait a minute. I'm growing. There you go. Right? There you go. So somatic work, therapy, mastery. He's a somatic mastery guru, right? He's a transformational guide, a somatic healer, and a modern mystic. Right? I'm like, you mean a mystic is a real thing? I thought it was just in the movies. No, it's a real thing. Now, he's also the founder of Vortex Retreats and the Metamorphosis Collective. He's good at naming stuff, isn't he? And he literally, I heard one of his clients say this, he literally helps people meet their soul. Right? There it is, you guys. That's the bell of purpose. I ring it throughout the broadcast to remind all of us, including moi, the truth. Just like that bell, you guessed it. It has a ring to it. Tune into it. It is a frequency. If something is in front of you and you don't hear shit, that's because it ain't worth shit. And there that is. So listen, you guys, right now, in this very moment, it's free, it's painless, and it will do your soul good. What I want you to do is share this broadcast out because there's something happening up in here today, and you don't want anyone you care about to miss it. So listen, he's never been here before, so you know what we do, right? We pour out the red carpet, the golden carpet. We do that by putting some hearts on the screen and welcoming our guest today. I'm just so thrilled. It took a little bit to get here. You know how those little things that don't serve us are, trying to trip us, throwing spiritual banana peels in front of us, hoping we'll slip and fall. Let me tell you something, y'all. When I fall in love. That is the spirit, because that is when I am home. And And they're like, oh, look at the little baby. Get on up, soul. Get on up and keep going. Here he comes down the hallway, and he's bringing some healing with him today. You best believe. Put your hearts on the screen. Here he comes. Jakob Gricar. How you doing? Wait a minute.
I am so good. How are you?
I'm awesome. I'm amazing. Wait a minute. I'm going to change that background. I can't stand looking at myself. I'm serious. I just got a thing about that. I'm awesome. Tell everybody where you're at in the world. Where you at right now?
I
think he has a delay going on. He's in another country, clearly.
I am tuning in from Slovenia, from Europe.
Oh.
Oh, I do. I am. I might need a second to just readjust and move, and then we can jump into there, because I do believe that my internet is lagging.
No worries. No worries. We've dealt with that before. That's those tricky monkeys, y'all, trying to, you know that, see no evil, hear no, speak no evil. If y'all have those in your home, get rid of them. I'm telling you.
There we go.
Right. They're trying to like cover up so we can't hear. Right. This, that, and the other. No, not going to happen. Good morning, all y'all. Hey, MD, good morning. And, oh, Brian, how are you? Good morning. Good morning and good morning. Brian, where are you watching from? You look like an interesting person. I need to know. Where are you from? In MD? That's my YouTube guru. Good morning to you, MD. I've missed you, my friend. I really have. So, okay, Jakob, say your name, because I've been practicing, but...
My name is Jakob Gricar.
Did you just say Jacob?
Yeah, I go by that. Go by that these days.
But what is it really supposed to sound like?
It's supposed to sound like Jakob.
Okay, see? Jakob. Right. Now, do you know what that name means, Jakob? I'm interested.
Well, it has a lot of meanings. It's a biblical name as well. And in Bible, Jacob occurs multiple times in the fight with an angel as well. Somebody who defeated the rules as well, and also won the fight against an angel. So it's somebody with a lot of power that ends up owning their own destiny.
Anybody relate to that? You want to own your own destiny? I know I do, but I want to own it lock, stock, and barrel. You're absolutely right. So here's something I do, Jakob. I'm going to use both of them, right? Is instead of reading a bio, and I did throw a few tidbits out there, but what I really love to do is leave the stage for just about a minute and allow you to share with the audience, what is it that you woke up with this morning, cradled within your spirit? What was it that you said, oh, that's what I'm supposed to pour out today? Well, here we go. I'm going to leave. You take it away. I'll be back in about a minute. You good with that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
I will be right back. All you. Take it away.
Thank you. Yeah, this morning I woke up with a lot of inspiration. Something I've found is that when you are very set on what you're doing in the world, where you're very clear on what you're creating in the world, then the universe conspires for that to happen. And I've been moving a lot through the spaces of inspiration, and I do believe that motivation is really only required when you're not fully stepping into what you're meant to be doing, right? Sometimes we feel like we need to motivate ourselves and keep going and keep pushing and keep striving. But when you're really so clear at the root of what you're creating and who you are, who you be in the world, moving with those spaces of inspiration, then waking up with that is like, wow, what do I get to create today? What is the universe really creating for me as the playground, right? And how do I be that space as a steward for so much more to be allowed to be there? So something that was the energy of me waking up this morning was exactly that, which was, what do I get to create today? What do I get to bring into the world? And through the programs that I'm doing and the clients that I'm working with, it's just been a lot of really deep service. And something that I believe is, if we keep chasing the fruits, right, we're always moving from the place of lack and greed and trying to get somewhere else. But if we focus on watering the roots instead of chasing the fruits, then the fruits grow healthy. Then we make sure that the tree is healthy. We make sure that our system is clean and clear and pure. And when that space is there, then the inspiration just moves through us. It flows through us. We're allowed to be in the deepest form of our own expression in that. So that's what I woke up this morning with.
Well, thank the Lord you did. That's one. Listen, I love my favorite word was the playground, because I am all about play. Seriously, I got toys all over this place because I loved to count it all joy. And I'm going to tell you where I find some of my greatest healing is when I can't get out of my own way. I will go out on my deck because it's like a park back there. There are no fences in this neighborhood. And so you can hear the kids playing in all directions. And I can just close my eyes and hear their laughter and joy, the bliss of sheer happiness. And it heals me just like that. Just so when you said playground, you were talking my language. So let me ring the bell. There it is. Now, listen, I want you to first, before we get into the somatic piece, which until I found you, I was divinely guided into your space. I'm just going to say that. And I was like, somatic, is that some kind of a bed? You know, I was like, is that some, like Serta sleeper, sleep number? I didn't know. I had no idea. But again, the universe brings us to those intersections of enlightenment when there's a need to know, because it's time for you to grow, so it's time for me to grow. So before we get into the somatic piece, can you give us a little origin story? Back when you were a kid dealing with the skin condition and all that, take them into that, would you please?
Yeah, absolutely. When I was a kid, so I grew up in Slovenia, small country in the middle of Europe. And when I was about 10 years old, I was dealing with a skin disease, pretty intense condition. Would wake up bleeding because I was scratching myself so much. My mom made me cotton gloves so that I wouldn't scratch too much. And when I was about 12 or 13, I found a book on my grandmother's shelf that was talking about hypnosis, and it was talking about medicinal plants, and it opened up my awareness to like, oh, this is interesting. Maybe this could support my insomnia, right? And my just the healing of, like, the easing of what I was dealing with. So I got into meditation, I got into hypnosis, and in a couple of months, my skin disease went away. And that was a miracle that really opened my eyes to like, wow, there is something different that is possible in the world, right? There is something different that we don't fully understand and that the system isn't fully teaching us. So that curiosity really started running how I was seeing the world and how I was approaching the world. And I got deep into personal development at about 14, 15 years old. Started studying every book that I could find, reading books on self-help and meditation, spirituality, Upanishads, which are the Vedic traditions from India, Buddhism. And until I was 18-ish years old when I left Slovenia and started traveling the world. And that was the curiosity inside of me of like, oh, there's so much more, right? I really want to understand what else is there. And when I started traveling, there was a lot of really adverse experiences that happened. I went from homelessness to living in India in different ashrams to moving to the Amazon and working and living with indigenous people in the jungle, to later on mentoring pretty big entrepreneurs and high-level CEOs, and working in retreat spaces. Opened up my retreat company in Mexico, and then opened up another one in Guatemala, started leading retreats with indigenous people, and so much more.
Wow. Is that all? You have been sitting on your ass. When you going to start doing something? I'm kidding. Let me go back because, I'm not ashamed to put some light on something I don't know or am not aware of. And I want to see the picture. When you said you were in India, you said you lived in, it sounded like ashrams? What is that? What is that?
Those are temples in India. So I started studying yoga. I think I was about 20, 21 years old. And I ended up living in the yogic spaces. So those were the places where there were different Indian gurus, you know, all dressed in like orange or different clothes. And every morning we woke up at 4:30 in the morning. We meditated for an hour. We were chanting for an hour. Then we were praying for an hour. Then we did our physical practice. We did our breath. And then started moving through the day. So it was a very different way of living, obviously. And then in the evening, similar thing, right? Physical practice, which is what in the West now we call yoga. But it's only like a small part of like their relived tradition, because it goes back to, they have yoga of knowledge, right? Jnana yoga, which teaches us that we are not separate from the divine, from God. It's a non-dual tradition. So there was deep studies of Jnana yoga, the yoga of knowledge. There were deep prayers and chanting and singing the names of God, which is the bhakti yoga, the devotion. And then there's also physical practice. So I spent months at a time studying those traditions.
Awesome. I want to ask you, because you know a lot of people get hung up, they get entangled in what we call that spirit. Some people say source, spirit, God, Yahweh, Jehovah, Buddha, all these different things. I refer to greater than, because I just, anything greater than me, I'm good with you, because I can learn from you. Yeah, that's how you got the ER. You know, I'm great, but you're greater. But when we combine it and we seek and we find, one day we're going to walk into some place out there and they're going to say, oh, look who it is. Only one of our greatest. And that's what I'm going for. So I'm curious, what do you call it? What's your personal name when you call out to what is greater than you? What name do you put on it? Since you've been,
I say God.
You say God.
I say God, and I say God very unapologetically. And I know that there's a lot of religious trauma, especially even in the people that I work with, right? There's a lot of church trauma. There's a lot of wounding around that. And I just say it very unapologetically, God, and it doesn't necessarily have a certain name or an image to me. I do believe that it's like one of the analogies that I learned in the yoga of knowledge is the ocean and the wave, right? So we're all seeking what is the depth of the ocean? Like, what are we made of? What is making this universe? Who made this universe? And we see ourselves as waves on top of the oceans. And when we look around, we always see other waves and we're like, oh, I'm separate from the other waves. But if we go deep enough into ourselves, we realize that we are the same ocean. So that ocean for me is God.
Anybody ready to go to the beach? I know I am. There you go. So let's talk about somatic. Tell people, give them the layman's introduction to somatic and why it's so very important.
Yeah. So somatics just means working with the body. So we can call it somatic breathwork, somatic movement, right? Somatic anything. But when I use the word somatics, and I've been trained by one of the pioneers in this field, is using the body in order to get to the deeper things that we haven't processed in our lives. So we all know that the body keeps the score, right? When something happened in your childhood or in your life at some point, the body keeps that. The nervous system remembers that. That's why a war veteran would get triggered by loud noises, because they get reminded of the moment the bomb went off, right? That's why somebody who was victim to a certain form of abuse, they still can remember that. Somebody who was in a car accident having that shock trauma might still remember the squealing of the tires, remembering that event when it happens, because the body remembers more than the mind does. Sometimes we suppress things in the psyche, but the body remembers. So what we do in the space of somatics, we track the sensations in the body, and we notice where is the energy stuck. So where the energy is stuck, then we go into that space and we see what it brings us to. Oftentimes it would bring us to a memory, or it would bring us to an event of something that happened. And then we create a space, a safe space for that traumatic imprint to be brought up in the surface and resolved through different processes. Oftentimes there's the dissolution of that, the discharge of energy. So for example, if we weren't able to express our anger in certain moments, then what we do in the space of somatic, where we meet this younger part of ourselves who wasn't able to do that, then we create a safe space where we can express that anger really powerfully, right? Maybe there's the grief that we've never felt, and that's stored and stuck in our nervous system. So we create safe space for that grief to be felt all the way through. And only once these actions, these feelings, these emotions all get felt all the way through and completed, that is where they finally lose the grip on us. Because what you're not aware is running you. What you hide away from runs you, right? But if we bring it forwards on the surface, we see it, we welcome it, we bring it in, and that's where we can learn from it. That's where it becomes an emotional memory without a memory without emotion, right? It becomes wisdom. It's no longer something that runs us from the shadow because we keep running away from it, but it's something that we acknowledge, that we become a part of. And the somatics are what allows that through the process of tracking sensations to the body, working with emotions, with the beliefs, and allowing the discharge to happen in the safe space.
Well, how interesting. How interesting. When you first started this passage, moving through what you just said, I heard, type this in and get ready to pop it on the screen, Lauren. And I was like, okay, I hope it makes sense. And as soon as I said that, you addressed it. Because here's what I was hearing. A lot of us work to quiet voices, to go, shh, I don't want to hear it. Leave me alone, this and the other. But then I heard that this is the piece that can sometimes be the catalyst for everything you're seeking. And that is not being afraid to break the silence. And I was told that you will understand what that means. And a lot of people are fearful of it because you think that's what I want. I just want it to be quiet, calm, peaceful. But what do you hear and what do you think it means this morning and in your work when you see breaking the silence? What does it mean to you?
Breaking the silence. What does it mean to me? As I hear that, what it rings to me is, oftentimes we numb, right? We run away from what has happened or what we haven't spoken, what has been unsaid. So what I notice sometimes with a lot of people who start working with me is they're very much in their head. And I believe that overthinking is just underfeeling, because at some point it was safer to not be in our body and to go into our head. For example, when there's a form of trauma or a form of abuse that happens, we escape from the body and we go into the mind. And then we intellectualize and we find all these clever coping strategies to not be with that. But the body numbs and the body creates this level of cannot be spoken about, this cannot be met. And the more we push it away, the more it comes out in all these distorted ways, like addiction or alcohol, weed, whatever that is. So when we learn to speak the unspoken through the body, when we learn to match and meet those parts of us that we've been trying to run away from, that's where it becomes something that it liberates us. So the same thing can be both the poison and the cure, right?
And
so
the antidote.
There's a passage that says, if you bring forth what is within you will save you. If you do not bring forth what is within you will destroy you, in the Gospel of Thomas. So if we look into that, it's like, what have we been hiding and pushing away that wants to be spoken?
I agree. That's so funny. I remember, I can't help it. I remember when I first started this work, I had a download that said, "Hey, Lauren." I was like, "What?" They said, "You know what we love about you?" I said, "What?" They said, "You know what? If there was a book behind God's desk that spoke to the relationship between God and you know what the title of your book would be?" And I was like, "What?" And they said, "Well, you guys have these books down there that are white, yellow, and black, and they're called Whatever for Dummies. Motivated inspiration for dummies." And I was like, hey, wait a minute. But what it meant was, because you keep it simple. I keep it simple. I don't, how I was like, well, I don't know what that means. I never heard of that. And that's the place I think everyone is aiming to get to, because it's so very much accessible. And what I love about when I looked in and I saw what you do, it was like, that's why I want some of it. I need some of it. I want you to go here. How, in all of the places that you've traveled with the monks and the indigenous people and this, Can you name a couple things that were present every place you went? What were those things, those bridges, those similarities, those ground zeros that were consistent, no matter who they were, what they dressed like, what food they ate? What did you find that, well, this is just like what the connectors? Talk about that. I'm so interested to hear this.
Yeah, the connection, absolutely. What I found was really fascinating to me was just seeing how in different traditions, people are much more oriented towards the community. And the community becomes a really important piece in the healing, right? In indigenous spaces, for example, trauma is not a problem of the individual, it's the issue of the entire community. So I believe that in the West, in the Western countries, what we call the West, even in Europe, we just got so over individualized that we just look at ourselves and it's like, I need to achieve success. I need to make this amount of money. I need to do this. I need to do this. I need to do this. Whereas in certain traditions, there's this level of unspoken shared heart, which is each person has its own responsibility to the community. And it's not about what they can get, it's about what they can give. So one person would hunt, the other person would gather, one person would serve the medicine, one person would make food, one person would make clothes. And each individual has its own space in the larger, broader community. And within the Hindu traditions as well, there is this ability to see everyone as a part of you. So we share the same heart, right? They call it a shared heart in the indigenous spaces. And in more of the India, the yogic traditions, it's believed that through Advaita Vedanta that there is no separation between us. So something that I've seen as a common thread through more of the spiritual traditions is this level of connection to each other and to the divine at the same time. The understanding that the animated world actually has its own place as well, and that we, as stewards of the animated world and of the natural world, have the responsibility to take care of that, to give, to keep giving back to nature, back to the animated world, back to the spirit world, back to the community, back to each other. And I do see how that's the disconnection that happened in the West. And that's why I perceive that we have so many people going through depression and sadness and disconnection and loneliness. And especially now with like the rise of social media and all of that. And I think the very thing that we created for connection is really disconnecting us. And the very thing we created to be smarter, like AI, is actually outsourcing our intelligence now to something else. So what I've noticed is the common thread between more spiritual spaces is that is not present there. There's still a level of devotion and prayer and giving back, and they live their lives through the service, right? At some point, I was trying to integrate some really heavy experiences in the Amazon with indigenous people, and I was talking about integration. How do I integrate that? How do I integrate that? And one of the chief people, he just told me, go plant a tree. Go out and go give something. And my Western mind couldn't compute that, because I was like, but it's all about me, and I need to, learn how to put that into my life so that I can be a better human. But it's not about that. It's about how much can I be in service? How much can I give? How much can I give back?
Amen. I second that emotion. And you guys feel free to drop your comments or questions in, and we'll get to them. Definitely. Now, something different is going on here this morning. I find myself hearing little downloads, and that says, just type this in and pop it on the screen and see where it goes. So here comes one of those. If you're ready, in 3, 2, 1. Talk about that.
Joy and happiness are not the same. I would say that's an interesting perspective. I perceive, well, so we've got the primary emotions, right? Or the ones that we feel right away. And then we've got the secondary ones that kind of take in the prefrontal cortex thinking brain as well. The primary emotions are the ones that we feel as a result of something that immediately happens outside of us. So for example, I step out on the street, I see something dangerous, and I feel fear. right? Or somebody crosses my boundaries. Anger are just boundaries in motion, really. So if I feel anger, then boundaries crossed, then I feel anger. So that's primary emotion. And I feel like joy or happiness, actually. It's interesting. I'm just going to speak about both of them.
Yeah.
I perceive there's a part of that is a primary emotion, right? Something beautiful happens, and then I feel a certain way. It brings some lightness to me. It brings joy to me. And then we've got some parts that engage the prefrontal cortex. They engage the mind. For example, I can ask myself, what am I grateful for today? What am I grateful for in this situation? What am I grateful for with this person? And that's starting to engage more of the mind. And the more I think about it, the more I can train myself more to be in that space of contentment. And I would say that is the distinction between it, that the joy is more, and for me, in my mind, they're the same, but I would say joy is more like what happens in the moment, and the contentment is more of something that happens over long periods of time as we reprogram our mind into that space, that we can be more in the appreciation of all we have, what we're given, and all that is around us.
Exactly. You know how God shows it to me? It's because I'm about to do a tour with Sanjeev Chopra, and it is the Happiness, Joy, and Bliss tour. Mm-hmm. And so he has his imagery that he uses for his side of the stage, which is you know, the basement of the house, the middle level of the house, and then the garden, the roof garden. And in my world, God shows me growing the grapes, harvesting the grapes is the happiness, because it's planting and growing, and then I harvest, and then I turn the grapes, I stomp them, and I turn them into champagne, and I bottle them. That's the joy, because I'm getting giddy because it's almost time to give it away. And then the bliss he shows me are the champagne bubbles, because who wants some champagne that doesn't have bubbles? It's just flat. Right? It tickles your nose. It's when people are celebrating a victory, they pop it and go like this and pour it all over everybody. It's the bliss, which are the bubbles, and the bubbles are the bliss. That's how I see it. Now, the reason I think this might be coming up today is because, here we go, purpose. Purpose is like a scavenger hunt thing. It's like those, you know, those puzzles when we're children, where they have a big tree and they say, find the wrench, find the cup, find the apple that are hidden in the tree. People are like, where is it? Talk about that. Purpose. Why do so many people think it's such a hard place to find? Because I believe purpose is a place. You know, anything that makes us feel something is not something we touch. It's something we feel. Love, joy, compassion. We can't touch them. We have symbols, but you can't touch them. You can only feel them. And here's where I'm going with it. I believe when we leave out that door to the right, you better show up there. All you got to do is bring one. It's like your ticket. You know, okay, did you bring something that you can feel, that you learned and grew into feeling? Because if you don't have something when you leave to take with you that you can feel, chances are you didn't leave anything here for the people that are coming to feel. You left a bunch of things they can touch, awards and houses and ex-wives and all these things, but none of those things travel with us to what is next. I've never seen a hearse with a U-Haul behind it, and I've never seen a casket with a bunch of Louis Vuitton luggage sitting next to it. So talk about that. How important is purpose? Why is it so difficult for people to think it's there for them? And just take us into that if you could. I think you got something to say.
Absolutely. Yeah. Something that I hear a lot in these spaces when I work with people is like, I'm feeling challenged to find my purpose, right? Or how do I find that? How do I find that joy? And it's like, where are you going to find that? Where are you going to look? Maybe it's, you know, in the drawer or in your parents' bathroom. Maybe it's at the bottom of the Dorito bag. But it's something not something that we can find, right? So therefore the search for it is meaningless, because it's not something that we find outside of ourselves. It's just something that we be. And in the yoga of knowledge, in Jnana Yoga, it said that one is at the core of our soul. We're the same as at the core of God is at the core, right? Which is Satchitananda, existence, consciousness, and bliss. And when we get to stay in that, what happens from us is our purpose. but it's not something that we go out and chase and try to find. It's something that we be. So who we are becomes the purpose and not something that we do. Because the more we chase what is it that we're doing, and the more we chase feeling a certain way, the more we're just trying to catch something that is always eluding. It's always going to be elusive because it's nothing we can hold. It's nothing we can actually grasp. So therefore, the way I perceive purpose is more as a state of being. If I stay in the place of existence, consciousness, and bliss, if I stay in my purest form, and then I do whatever I do from that, then that becomes the purpose. So it's like, there was a quote from one of the books, more sacred text, Bhagavad Gita, which talks about the moral duty. And the moral duty is not to shoot an arrow and know where it falls. The moral duty is just to shoot the arrow. And wherever it falls, it's God's will. So when we're talking about purpose, for us, our purpose is basically to be in that space where we give and where we serve, and wherever that falls, it's God's will. And whatever fruits come back, it's God's will. So we're not just chasing the fruits, we're watering the roots, right? And the fruit does not belong to the tree, it belongs to the ecosystem. And the more we focus on that, on the giving, on the serving, but from the pure form, not from the form of wanting to get something in return, that's, I would say, when we really tap into what our purpose is. And then we see ourselves eventually when we're in this space and we just give and we serve and we give and we serve. At some point, waking up becomes really exciting because we start moving from the place of inspiration. What else can I create today?
You are validating so many things. It's so interesting to me how the universe, how God, that's that come as you are. If you really get in there with each other and stop thinking you're in competition with each other, we're not. We're only in competition with time. The mantra for me is get her done, okay? But we are not above or below, in front or behind. When we stand beside each other, this is what happens. You get confirmation, the only true validation that matters. Now, here's where I'm going with that. And Lulu Lee is here. She coaches with me, and she knows she's heard this many times. I had the dial. I was told to tell my people and tell the world. I remember when I was a little kid, I used to hear my grandmother say, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. And God said, no, it's not. It's paved with the corpses of people who took the arrow of intention. They did everything to craft it, to hone it, to gather all the things to make that arrow of truth. And then they pull it back and they die with it inside of the bow. And so they die without because then we start judging. Well, I don't know. That target ain't worthy. Oh, no, look, it's got too many wounds. People have been hit. No, whatever. So I've decided, I said, so what's the purpose in this, God? He said, because it's not just about creating arrows. It's about creating targets. So I tell people, look, if you can't get to the arrows, wake up every day and try to become a target, because truth never misses the bullseye. It will just if you just let it go, it's going to find, it can go in every direction. It can turn and do U-turns, boomerang effect, domino effect. All the laws that defy rational thinking are there to let us know and encourage us. Don't judge, just do your best. And greater than all of us, we will take care of the rest. So when you said that about the arrows, I was like, he said the arrows. Right. So get up every day, everybody. Start your day by saying, make me a target for your truth. Make me a target for your truth. And watch what happens. Bullseye every time. So let's go into who do you beckon with your divine gifts with the somatic? What is that person? In the business world, they call it your ideal client, your avatar. But let's talk about what soul are you reaching for and what souls are reaching for you, but you just don't know each other yet. What do they look like? Who are they?
The people that I've just naturally gravitated to working with, and I use that word because I haven't chosen that as my quote unquote ideal client avatar, right? Or the soul that I choose to work with has been mainly people who are actually in really big positions and they're managing a lot of really big projects and they maybe have really big companies. And what I've noticed is that, if you don't work on clearing certain things from your system, those are the things that are going to be holding you back, and they're going to be holding you a lot, costing you a lot of money. And when the things are not processed from the nervous system, that comes out in all these different ways, and it comes out through greed and the inability to manage money or work with clients. So what I've just found over time, and who ended up approaching me, were people who are up to big things in the world. And they just feel like there's a part of them that is seeking more, but they don't know how to find it. Or they've already achieved a lot, but they still wake up feeling dissatisfied or angry or not knowing why, right?
That's right.
And that's where we get to go into the core root of where the dysfunction is and why this is happening.
You're so right. And that's Lulu, who's listening. Yes, that's exactly the people. Those are the people that I work with too. I was told that I'm bringing you, Lauren, people that are being fast-tracked through this universe. A lot of them have already achieved milestones that a lot of people say, I can leave the world happy now. I have reached my pinnacle. And then they get there and they find that, yeah, I have what it takes to get all these things that I can touch. But I feel like I'm missing some things that I need to feel. And there it is again, right there. So I want to ask you about this, because when you said costing you money, now, I know lots of you, because I used to do the same thing. I started thinking about money I had wasted, had been, I got duped. I got burnt. I'm not kidding you, Jakob. I used to think, well, why you send me all the people with third-degree burns? Because, they come in, well, I just spent $130,000 on a 6-week program and got nothing. And I think, why am I getting the leftovers? No, I'm getting the do-overs. I'm getting the makeovers. I'm getting the overcomers. I'm getting the overachievers. I'm getting the people who need to get over something. And that's kind of like wall talk. Because we say, why don't you just get over it? Oh, you'll find a way around it. Ooh, how you going to dig from underneath it? That's wall talk. I believe God named things exactly the way they need to be named. And in my world, they're not walls. They're windows of opportunity, which are right next to the door of opportunity. Because when you look through the window, you see everything your heart desires. But then you see that big ass question mark or that little bitty question mark. And like you say on your website, your heart starts pounding. I'm scared. We're scared of what we don't know. But for me, the question mark is proof that God is in there. So it's not an ego trap. I don't need you. Fuck you, bitches. I do this by my damn self. Been there, done that. No. The question mark is, come on in. I've been waiting for you. Now go over next door. Step over 2 steps to the left. Use the doorknob. And come on into this door of opportunity. I want you to take us into, because a lot of people say the money that they think is the money we spent, but it's the money that's already there. It's waiting right on the other side of that block. It's waiting for you, but it's costing you because you don't know that it's there. So I want you to tell people how do they, and I'm gonna tell you guys too, you can work for him. You can work with this guy. I was shocked at what you charge people. I was like, what in the world? Right. Talk about why you do this work. How do they know it's time? And how do they get started? What's the first thing they need to do to just get baptized a little bit, get dunked, get dipped inside of the world of possibility with you?
Yeah, I see how you tied that from the money and the spending of money, right? There's no real spending of money. It's the flow of money, right? It's the currency, like the current. So it always gets invested into something. So whatever you invest it in, it's giving you something back. And if you don't see something that came back, then it's the matter and the challenge of perception. It's not a matter of like it being wasted. And I say that as somebody who spent a lot, invested a lot in different things, and then learned my lessons through that processes. And sometimes the lesson I learned by investing some money was really just to not invest it in that place, right? Or to trust myself more in the certain space. And when we talk about capacity is not in the content, it's in the context. And what I mean by that is that our capacity is limited to how much we can hold and not exactly what we grasp. So the capacity for money isn't how many dollars do I have on my bank account, but is how much can I allow the flow to move through. So capacity is always the space that I hold. How good of a steward can I be for everything that moves through me? So when somebody's seeing that there's places where the energy is being stuck, I would say that that's the first place to start. And again, from the lens of somatics, that would be really tuning into the body, right? And just seeing like, okay, the energy is stuck when I, for example, go to pay a bill, right? And I notice the contraction in my chest, or I notice the pit in my stomach, or I notice I have a challenge swallowing. So you can ask yourself, okay, what is this reminding me of? What is this trying to tell me? What is this trying to teach me? Where is this taking me? And when we get to recognize these triggers in the real world, either that's paying the bill or having an extra charge somewhere, or in relationship, that would be somebody like saying something to us that we don't like, or we feel that level of resentment of like, oh, I'm always the one doing everything, right?
Yeah.
So when that happens, we just recognize what is happening in our body. What do we notice in our body? We slow down and we ask ourselves, oh, what is there? Tension, contraction, tightness, density, lightness, warmth, coldness, whatever that is, and just observing that and just seeing what's the story that that is wanting to tell us. So that I would say just being aware, becoming aware of oneself is definitely a place to start.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, I'm listening. I hear my kitties upstairs. What are they up to? Okay, sounds like they're having fun. Good enough. So listen, as we start to wrap this illuminated conversation, I want you to address this last question, because sometimes we become so repetitive that it's going through the motions. You know, like I see people here's an example on Facebook, and someone's going through something really dark and they say, "Oh, please, I need prayers." And I've been tempted to just hit the hands, not even uttering one syllable of a prayer. Not the same thing. So this one, why it is that we practice things. We feel that we need to ground or center ourselves, but then because it's all about the remembrance. I've always been told you must remember who you are in order to understand where you're at, and then to know exactly what you are supposed to do with what you have where you're at. The execution, the letting go of the arrow. So talk about this, because a lot of people, yes, I meditate at the beginning. I hear that that's lukewarm. That's a dangerous place to just go through the motions. Why is that?
Well, the intention matters a lot, which is we can do all the same things, but the intention that we give it is really, really potent, right? So if I eat every day, which I do, I eat every day, but I just eat, that food is drastically different than if I eat and before I eat, I pray or I bless it or do whatever I do with it, right? Because the intention that I infuse it with is very different. And just the space in which I'm at when I'm doing that is very different. If I connect with somebody else and I speak to them in the way I am speaking right now, and there's no intention of what I want there to be as the result of it, I can just keep going through the motion. When I meditate, I just sit down and like, unless I have a very specific focal point, I'm again just going through the motion. So intention is on one hand what really matters, and on the other hand is the repetition of it. The repetition matters just as much, but it's the repetition of intention. So as I go to the gym, for example, I don't just go through the motion of working out. I go through the motions of actually asking God to make me a vessel to be able to hold space for more people. And through that, my physical exercise becomes an exercise for me to be a better channel for what I'm meant to be doing here, a better channel for my purpose, right? So the way we transition that is to just break the pattern when we see ourselves going through the motion and ask ourselves, what can I do different? What is the intention that I can infuse it with that adds an extra layer of depth in our spiritual journey? So it's really catching ourselves in all these moments where we see ourselves on autopilot responses, autopilot triggers, right? Autopilot coping mechanisms or numbing, and just really be like, okay, how do I infuse this same action with a deeper purpose? With more intention, with a deeper intention? How do I be more present through every single part of my life? Even sending prayer hands to somebody, like just infusing that with like, okay, what am I actually bringing into this? So it's not just something that I do, but it's actually everything becomes from who you be.
That's exact. Yes. Mean what you say what you mean. It cannot be meaningful for others if you haven't filled it to the brim with meaning. Every time I hear something spectacular, I hear people say, wow. WOW works in both directions. Pay attention to those comments, those words, and those suggestions that work in both directions. I believe they are divinely anointed, and they will help you not miss anything along the road. There are lots of billboards, traffic signs. They're all messages. They're all clues, because the promise says, if you seek, when you seek, you will find it. Didn't say you might, you could, you should. It says you will. So keep looking and watch what happens in your life. I want to say right now, scrolling along the bottom where we're rotating them, there's the Instagram. Tell us while I'm going to drop these right now inside the comment section, every one of these connectors to Jakob. There's his Instagram. Tell us about the Inner Circle private podcast. And I was like, private? Does that mean I'm the only one listening? You're not going to be, yeah, I told you, public school, right? There it is. Tell them about that as we wrap. And also, you guys, I'm going to drop this, the main gate, which is the website. While he tells you about the podcast, I'll be dropping that in for easy access for you to hit at the end of the broadcast, which is just a couple moments. Tell them about the podcast, Jakob.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have been sharing a lot in different spaces, different guest speaking container, different engagements about just dropping little things here and there. And I think it gets very repetitive if you try to get everything through all different channels. So I asked myself, what if I create a space that is free of algorithm, unlike Instagram and Facebook, where I just share the deepest wisdom that I'm learning from launching my own multi-six-figure business, from coaching hundreds of clients, through travels, through indigenous practices, through learning the yoga of knowledge. So what are the core things that I've learned on the way? What are the core insights that I'm learning through my business or through my clients? And basically a couple of times a week, I get on there and just probably for about 15 to 20 minutes, I just speak, and it's very raw, unedited, and very direct. They're just voice messages for me that you can have access to a couple of times per week.
I love it. I love it. And anything on the radar, anything we need to keep our eyes out for that you have coming up that we might find some benefit within?
Yeah, in about November, highly likely, I'm launching another group container. We've done 3 versions of that so far with my business partners, and has been absolutely transformative. Some people say it's the most comprehensive ontological coaching and somatics program online, and we take people really, really, really deep, the deepest they've ever gone. So that's something we'll likely be launching again in November. We haven't fully announced the dates yet, but if somebody's interested, you can just send me a DM on Instagram or on Facebook, or find me somewhere else and ask about it, and I can.
Are these the folks you're talking about?
Yes, that's the one.
Okay, I know. Yeah, you guys look like TV stars. Maybe you are. Okay, so there you go, and that's the Metamorphosis. What is it, Collective?
Yeah.
Okay, the Metamorphosis Collective. So as you see, you guys, we have barely scratched the surface of this young man. So do yourself a favor so that you can find favor in everything you do. Keep seeking, keep reaching. And here's a great place to start. It's all about that low-hanging fruit. You see what I'm saying? Why is low-hanging fruit so wonderful? Because it meets you when you're flat on your back. It is right there. There's a sweet, sweet spirit in this place, and I hope you take that aroma into your day and beyond. Listen, I'm Dr. Lauren. I want to thank all of you for pouring into me today and giving me the opportunity to pour into you. Jakob, wow. I am hang out backstage for just a second because I want to get a little more intel and info about the program, because I want to get signed up as soon as possible. And listen, promise me you'll come back again and do more of what you've done here today, because just love it, man. I really do. Any last word for the audience?
Thank you so much for having me, and I really want to take a moment to acknowledge you for all that you are and all that you do and how you show up and how you flow and how you speak. It's so absolutely inspiring, and I'm really, really grateful for you.
Oh, same here. Thank you so much. Now, as we get out of here, I want to tell you guys this. Listen, meet me here tomorrow morning on the front porch, and together we'll have another illuminated conversation. Do not slam my screen door as you leave. And remember, I tell you all the time, and I mean it, Dr. Lauren absolutely loves you. And there's not a damn thing you can do about that. So get out there, be your best. And the universe, God, will take care of the rest. And that's a promise. Bye now. Have your best day ever. See you soon. Thank you, Jakob. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Show me your soul. Baby, I'll show you mine. Show me your soul. Honey, it's way past time. How expensive do I have to be? Need I spell it out before you get it, baby? Show me your soul. And honey, I'll show you mine. I'll show you mine.